Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be doing the Collingwood vs Adelaide game review, going through who went really well, who didn't go so well, as it was actually a really high quality game yet again between these two. I believe it's the third or fifth time in the last sort of 5 games or whatever that it's been decided by under a goal. These two have played, I know they played 2 classics last year and this one lived up to it as well. And yeah, so what a game it was. I'm really annoyed that Nick Dacos decided to just butcher the ball by foot. If he hadn't butchered the ball by foot, we would be looking at a captaincy score by him. You'd probably be looking at a 150, 160 Supercoach score. That's how good he was, outside of his disposal efficiency. But anyway, you can't have everything, I guess. So before we get into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So John Noble here, and the funny thing is, Nick Dacos isn't even going to get on the mentions list. That's how good a lot of these guys played. You have Noble 120, Matt Crouch 119, and Jack Crisp 118. So you're not even going to get Josh Dacos, Jordan Dawson, Nick Dacos, who all went above 115 or above. They're not even going to get mentioned. 3 guys, is that 2 guys on there? 3 guys on there that aren't even going to get mentioned at 115 plus. And you'll see that as well, I think, in the St Kilda Freo game. There are some guys there that go huge and they're not going to get mentioned. I think one of them might even be Luke Jackson, who put up a 154 in Supercoach. And I mean, that is due to efficiency. But anyway, onto this game. And Noble, a 120, I thought he was really good in the first half. Didn't do much in the second half, but didn't really need to do much. His line breaking in the first half was huge, and I'm pretty sure he had a huge amount of meters gained. 388 for where is he here? Let's actually change it to that. He had 535 meters gained for 29 touches. That's a really good meters gained per disposal. And yeah, he was pretty good. Jack Crisp really butchered the ball, much like that of Nick Dacos here, I'm pretty sure, and he only had, only had 2 clangers, but went at 52% by disposal efficiency. So he got a 118, and yeah, he was pretty big in terms of fantasy, but yeah, just didn't get the score up in terms of Supercoach because of, he got a 112 in Supercoach. Just because he got a lot of stuff late, I believe, was it? Yeah, he did a little bit late, it seems. Not really too much though, so that's sort of surprising. I think in this term here, when it was sort of close, he did lead them on. Did kick a huge goal here as well. That goal probably got counted a little bit more in the count back for it. And then you have Josh Dacos here, 118, 100. Didn't really, just sort of more on the outside work for him, and took some marks, did a lot of damage by sort of foot in terms of meters gained. 574 from 30 touches is just over 19 meters per disposal, which is a huge amount, I believe. Yeah, that's just over 19. So huge amount per disposal, which I think the league average is like 13 or 14. So to almost do 1.5 times that on a huge amount of disposals is pretty good. Especially not kicking out from the back. Nick Dacos, a 115. He did a lot in the first half. Didn't do much in the second half. A 115. I'm going to risk it with Max Gawn, because Max Gawn has the typical best matchup available. If it wasn't Max Gawn wasn't against West Coast, and it was some other matchup, and I was like, yeah, he's going to score well, I probably would take the 115. I wouldn't take the 105 in Supercoach though. But because he's got what is arguably the worst team, the second worst team in the comp, and the worst ruckman in the comp, I am going to take the odds that he is going to smash that. And yeah, he could honestly end up with 50, 55 hitouts, with 10 to 15 of those being hitouts to advantage, and that alone will just garner points. And yeah, so that's why I'm taking that option, especially with him being the number 1 ruck. And there being no sort of number 2 there at Melbourne. Pendlebury was really good early, had the 2 goals, and then sort of didn't do anything in the second, did stuff in the third, and then nothing in the fourth really. So he ended up with a 105, and that sort of shows his sort of age, I would say. It's that he played amazing 2 quarters, but couldn't really impact much in the other 2. But yeah, he played a really good game in general. DeGoey 96 kicked the sealer off the boot of off the pass from Nick Dacos, one of his 6 good kicks, because he was kicking it at like 35% or something. But yeah, Degoe 96. He's an impact player playing, and he got kicked 3 goals to get to a 96 up full with a forward mid roll, and I just think that shows that he isn't going to be that that fancy relevant. He never has been, to the point that I did a video, one of my first ever videos. I think it was about my 10th video, was Jordan De Goey is not a fancy option, just because he's an impact player rather than a disposal gatherer. And he can sometimes just, we've seen it this year, can have games of 30, 40, etc. So yeah, he is not relevant. Darcy Cameron, Maynard, Schultz, Quaynor, Hill, Lipinski, Richards with the 62. I thought he was really, really good, and he is a goal sneak. But one thing I do like is he actually gets up the ground a lot. He kicked one goal? One goal. But I thought his tackle work was really, really good. If we go to Joe Richards here, 5 tackles, 12 touches. Yeah, I think that's pretty sort of good for a half forward, I guess. And I think he still keeps his name in the side, to be honest, with the way he performed. Side bottom 55 for those people that were... I think he's just not... Like we said with, I think Dan Rioli, this happened a couple of years ago. It takes some time to get used to this halfback role and really be able to... if you get given the keys, and you can't really get given the keys given Josh Dacos, Nick Dacos and Noble taking up a lot of that sort of point scoring, and he's also on the older side of it. So I don't think after 2 games you can say that side bottom would be a good choice, a logical choice at halfback. Just because Daniel Rioli took, I think, 2 or 3 years, and we're still seeing 70s and 80s sort of average out of Daniel Rioli. He's never really going to be that damaging and high points, high collection, disposal collector, like an accumulator off halfback, and I don't think side bottom will be any different to that. So I think he will pop out games of 100s, but I also think he'll pop out 50s and 60s, so he's just not relevant. Sullivan, he had a really good game as well. Was unlucky that one of his tackles as well, I think he got the hold on the ball decision, but they took the advantage, so he would have been able to get another disposal there, and didn't do anything in the last, but I think he still ended up with about a 60 in Supercoach. Sorry, a 51 in Supercoach, so a little bit annoying that he had a negative split. Did he just butcher the ball? 69%, so I'm surprised about that. Probably got the negative split because the game got really close and he did nothing in the last quarter. That's probably the reason why the negative split. McRae, 54, really happy that he's gotten a 54 hit. I will check the CBAs because I do think that Finn McRae is one that if he gets CBAs, he's going to score well. But I just want to check here because it's a good thing that Finn McRae didn't go out of his mind with his scoring, because if he does move clubs and gets CBAs, then we will be in the money. Let me just check here the advanced score involvements, player on goal assist. Do I have CBAs in the advanced segment? So we got Pendlebury, Cameron, Dacos, Chris, Sullivan, Cox, McRae had 1 CBA out of a predicted 27. So that's like 3%. So yeah, I think that if McRae gets more CBAs, he will be looking at a better score. And I just want to see which quarter was it the CBA in. CBA was in the last quarter. He did score 13 in that quarter. I also want to see when I looked at the stats as well. Logan McDonald had to ruck a CBA. So if anyone can find me the clip there of that would be quite good, as I think he just got lost as well in the Swans game for that. But yeah, I think if McRae moves sides, and I just don't see him getting into the midfield currently with Dacos, Crisp, and De Goey's going to go back into that midfield. Sullivan looks all right in that midfield as well, that midfield role, and I'm pretty sure they have Tom Mitchell as well out. So you're starting to get names in there, 4, 5, 6 guys in there. So it really means that McRae's sort of just going to be stuck. So at the moment, I believe McRae, if I just bring it up here, McRae, I can get his season average. Season average fantasy points is 40.2. He is, if he gets, and the good thing is he'll keep forward status next year. If he gets, goes to another club and gets the midfield time, that's going to be pricing him right around that 362, 363 currently. That'll be money for a forward if he gets that. And hopefully he can get, also with Titch coming back, a couple more sub games, lower that down to sort of that 35 average, which would be sort of 320, 325k. For next year, and then he moves clubs to maybe even a struggling Richmond or something like that, as I think he can be really, really valuable and be a guy that can go 75 as a forward and sort of be almost like what we're seeing Harley Reid be, sort of average area. Frampton, Moore, Markov, Cox, Hoskin, Elliott, McInnes, and Harrison came on as a sub. McInnes, I believe, concussed. Hoskin Elliott, I believe, is also out with, I forgot, what did he do? Did he strain something? I forgot what now after everything that happened. So yeah, I knew that he was out, and then McInnes got a bad concussion and stayed on for a little bit, but then they got him off reasonably quickly. Then we go on to Adelaide and Crouch 119, and the problem with Crouch here, and I think you see it every single week that he plays, he was averaging at one point about less than 3 meters per disposal. Like, he is just not moving the ball forward, and it is so it's so annoying to watch, honestly, because he gets and you can just look at all of the other sort of players that play a similar-ish role to Crouch, more of the sort of contested players, and they just smash him in terms of meters gained, and that's the real difference between Crouch just looks for the easy ball out, and like you see with the Swans, they are just damaging because their impact per disposal is so big, whereas Crouch's impact is almost negligible. So I just think that the midfield, especially with Crouch, I believe it was, I don't know how many CBAs the likes of, if I just go here to Adelaide, there was Saligo 19, Laird 16, Rankin 16, Crouch 15, Jordan Dawson 15 out of 27. So they had this sort of, they almost had the CBA splits that you'd almost want out of Crouch and Laird, and they still couldn't do it. So yeah, it's an interesting one to look at there. But I just don't get what Crouch is actually giving to Adelaide, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's a really weird one. It is annoying that he's obviously scoring well, and he scores really well, but he doesn't impact the game, and that's the thing. He can his disposals are almost like meaningless. It's like a basketball player that puts up a 30 point per game or 27 point per game average, and on a losing side, it's like they do nothing that actually impacts the game, because the stuff that you don't see in stats is actually what's being sort of the more negative effect. Dawson 117, 22-36, 25-34, Hinge 104, Rankin 99, and he's got a hammy, so he'll be out 2 to 3 weeks. I would suspect it didn't look the worst hamstring, but it looked like a 2 to 3 week. O'Brien 91, Walker 87, Nankervis 87, Chase Jones 79, Keys 79, Butts 75, Saligo 75, and this is what I was saying about Saligo, and this is why I say that my strategy people will say, oh, you shouldn't have, as a sort of content creator, you should have seen that coming, this guy going this big, this guy going this big. But when you follow sort of a logic approach to it, you're going to get, I would say, I'm using all the players that I've seen sort of as trade-in targets and stuff like that. Usually using logic, you can get about 80% right. And 20% will be, the player just went off and sort of broke the trend. But I'd rather be in the 80% than 20%. So Saligo just was never going to be, looking at his underlying statistics, we called it that his L3 wasn't even good enough. And we were talking about L3 players at that point. We used sort of Caldwell, and the reason why Caldwell was up there rather than Saligo, I believe Caldwell had a 115 or something, L3. And also he had forward status rather than Saligo's was like a 103, and his stats just didn't line up really. He's not really a, if you actually look at the numbers here, you'll see, I don't think did he have a mark all day? Saligo, 1 mark, 3 tackles. We talked about this, Jaden put out a thing a year ago about now that most players that average 100 need 8 sort of marks plus tackles combined. And Saligo's averaging only like 4 or 5. So that really is hard. It is hard because he's not getting the non-disposal work that you really need out of guys to get that 100. And he's also can be sort of, and we see this with, that's why I was a little bit worried about Walsh, who is a better collector as well than Saligo, is that with Walsh has developed a more tackling game, is that he would struggle to score really well, and he's proven me wrong, except for the tag by by the likes of James Jordan that really did. And that's why taggers can be really influential on guys like Saligo and Walsh, because they cannot influence the game outside of that. So yeah, there's that. Keane, Rochelle, I thought had a pretty good game as well for a small forward. Smith, Cook, McElhaney, Laird, 61. He's going to be so cheap next year, but he's probably cooked as well. Unless him or Crouch move sides, or he goes to like a half-back role, he is cooked. Hamill, Murphy, Fogarty, Scholl, and McHenry. So that basically is the video. A little bit longer on a non-Sydney one, which is probably a good thing. I just wanted to sort of explain the reasoning behind that Saligo pick again, and reasoning why I never was going to go for it. And then also just sort of going through my thoughts, I guess, on the rookies there, and sort of my thoughts on Finn McRae as we sort of look forward at the moment now. You can always look forward to 2025, especially after this year with the Rowan Marshall show that's going on. But yeah, that pretty much is the video, and I'll see you guys in the next recap. Bye, guys.